Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sporting Max, where today we are joined by Ultimate Youth Change Centre CEO Andy Anderson. Welcome to the podcast, Andy. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Now, growing up in Ballarat, what was like for you in your early years?
Yeah, mate. So, growing up in Ballarat was, it's a great town. It's a small town.
Mm-hmm.
Not, back then there was, I guess, not a lot to do, or I guess depends on how you looked at it. But we were always up to mischief. We were always, playing footy or doing sport, also doing a lot of naughty stuff and fighting and a whole bunch of things when we were growing up. But look, I love my childhood. I met a group of friends that I'll always be connected to. I think at that age, connecting with friends and all the trials and tribulations of growing up as a teenager, you make some really strong bonds. And I'm very grateful for the friendships and the brotherhoods I created growing up. And that sort of made me who I really sort of built the foundations for my values and I guess who I am today. And then and that's sort of how I grew up.
Did you look up to anyone growing up?
Look, I did. I've always had idols, and I've always looked up to certain people at different stages of my life.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it was like Bruce Lee and Van Damme and like martial arts action heroes.
Yep.
And then as I sort of got into training, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger and people such as him. But yeah, look, I always have a bit of a list of people that I like to learn about and look up to and take parts of their character and inspiration from them. I think it's a great sort of mindset strategy.
Now, you moved down to Melbourne to be a carpenter. How did that opportunity to move to Melbourne come about for you?
Mate, I used to be in a band and I wanted to be a musician and I was guitarist and singer and I played in a band called Perfect Reason. So with a great group of guys, one of those guys is still my very best friend today, and he's actually the drummer of Bliss and Esso and
wow.
But he plays drums with Mars Wolf, who's number one hit at the moment. And so we had a band together and we had this dream, this vision of moving from a small town to the big city. We got a house, we called it the House of Reason. It was this 5-bedroom, 2-story house.
Wow.
And we had one bedroom, which was our practice room. We had all the set up and we'd jam every night. And then on the other nights, me and Dan would like write songs and get creative. And I was also a carpenter. So I had a full-time job as a carpenter. And then every other spare second we were jamming, writing music, playing gigs in Melbourne. And that was the sort of motivation to move to Melbourne.
So what was that like to be a carpenter out on the tools?
Mate, it was good. It's a skill that I'm very grateful for. And I guess I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was younger. I had these passions, but I wasn't sure about where I was going to go. And I wanted to be a rock star and play in a band. And my nan always said to me, she said, Andy, get a trade, because if you get the trade, you can do anything with it. You can always go back to it. And I thought, you know what, Nan, I'm gonna take this bit of advice. And I ran with it. And so it's a skill, dude, that you can really, again, you can go back to it and you can find it useful. And I have, man. I built basically all of the initial gyms that I opened, I built with my bare hands. I built the toilets, I did all the floors, and I still do a lot of the handyman stuff when I need to. So it's a skill that served me.
So when did you realize that, I guess, you wanted to get into fitness?
Yeah, great question. So look, I loved being active, and I was on a journey of self-evolution with myself. I was growing. I wanted to learn to shred. I sort of struggled with my weight growing up and then felt really unhealthy at a certain stage of my life. And I wanted to change myself more than anything. And then when I did that, I was like, holy shit, this is so good. I want to show others how to do it, right? And then I got to a stage where we were in the building industry, and I forget what actually happened. Something happened where something was going on with the place that I was working, and they were shutting parts of the business down. I thought this is going to be an opportune time to do something different. And so I took the opportunity and I thought, I want to be a coach and I want to do something positive and help people with their health. So I left that job and then I went in, did my PT certification, and that was the start.
So in May 2011, you founded the Ultimate You Change. Can you tell the listeners what it's about?
Yeah, mate. So after sort of coaching and going through that process of being a PT and then learning about NLP, positive psychology, all these sorts of things, I had a vision to create a concept that combined mindset, nutrition, and training, really a holistic approach to change, not only getting sort of fast results, but a full service business that got people long-lasting results, you know, so sustained results. And so that was the concept that I sort of dreamt up, and that's really what I sort of built the business around. And so, yeah, back in 2011, probably a little bit earlier, I put a business plan together and I started raising capital and pitching it to different investors, etc., to try to get my dream off the ground.
So what was your aim, or sort of original aim for your business?
So the first goal was to stop doing boot camps. So I had about sort of eight boot camp locations around Melbourne with my partner Andrea, and then we were obviously, you know, we had a great little business, but in Melbourne it rains a lot in winter. It's freaking cold. You know, 5 a.m., 4:30, 5 a.m. starts in the rain. It's not a lot of fun. And so I wanted to get my business indoors, which was the first goal. And then the second goal was that I wanted to expand and change literally hundreds of thousands of lives. And then my long-term vision is 1 million lives in Australia. And so that was always the goal. I wanted to grow my business and I wanted to help a lot of people.
So I read that around 2 years into the business, you opened a new You Change Centre in Sydney. How did that feel to know that you were growing and reaching new heights with the business, and knowing that you would really achieve something by this stage throughout hard work and determination?
Yeah, mate. I mean, it was really exciting, and it was a big step forward. And I think any new business venture, any growth is scary and it's exciting. But I think some people naturally have this drive to progress and to grow and can handle a certain amount of risk more than other people. And I've got an appetite for that. I like to grow. I like to progress. I understand calculated risk, and that was the journey I was on. So for me, it was an exciting time. It was hard work, a lot of hard work, and it was a whole bunch of new learnings, mate. But it was a lot of fun.
Now, you guys have sort of like 18 locations branched around the country. What's that been like for you to sort of, and when you step back now and like go, well, like, and watch that business grow?
Well, look, mate, it's really exciting. And look, to be honest, we've closed a couple of centers because of COVID, but we are still, you know, a strong company and growing strong. And, you know, it's been an amazing trajectory over the last few years. COVID was a huge barrier and a big upset for all of Australia, and especially, you know, restaurants, bars, gyms. You know, we got smashed the hardest. But up until that point, you know, it's been such an awesome journey, and we've helped so many people. I mean, we've helped over 250,000 people in Australia. Wow. And of course, my dream and my vision is to continue that journey. And now post-COVID, we're getting back on our feet and we're driving forward so we can continue to aim for that goal of 1 million lives.
So what do you do, I guess, on a weekly basis at the Ultimate You Change?
Mate, it changes. You know, my mindset around business is I be who I need to be at the time. If I need to clean the toilets, I'll clean the toilets. If I need to be on the phone, I'll be on the phones. If I need to be in strategy mode with marketing and sales, then I'll do that. Sometimes I'm building systems, so I've just got to sit there and focus for a long period of time. And look, I've got ADHD, so I like to move around a lot. But you know, sometimes you just got to sit down and do the work. And so, you know, short answer is that my role is very dynamic, and you know, I'm traveling. You know, at the moment, I'm just finalizing big sponsorship deals for the TV show. I could be negotiating with other CEOs, or I could be again on the phones making calls with my team to invite people in to close sales. So it just depends on the week and the day. But my mindset is I will do whatever it fucking takes to make sure the business works.
So what would you describe as a healthy diet?
But I would describe a healthy diet as one, food that is nutrient dense. And so I love whole foods. They of course you can rely on, usually if they've been grown in the right way, and also making sure that you fuel your body based on your energy output. So if you're someone who trains and you're someone that moves a lot, then you need to, of course, eat more nutrient dense food. And if you are sedentary, then of course you adjust your calories based on your output. And so, look, for me, I love whole foods. I love good protein sources. I love good fats. I love good carbohydrates. And it's a bit of a loaded question because depending on who you are and what your goals are, the nutrients will change, of course. But as a whole, mate, that's how I'd sum it up.
What's involved and what do you do throughout your programs at Ultimate You Change?
Well, look, we have an array of programs, and they're all designed at helping people at different stages of the journey. You know, we have some people coming to us that need to lose 100 kilos.
Yeah.
And so the way we structure their diets, their training protocols, their mindset strategies are going to be a lot different to, say, an athlete that comes to me and wants to get on stage. There are different parts of the journey, but every strategy is based on scientifically proven nutrient guidance, also scientifically proven workout regimes that are periodized to elevate and progress the person at the right time to make sure that their body is getting what they need. And of course, their body is also getting the nutrients they need and changing the mindset at the same time. And so again, it's got workouts. You're going to have your diet prepped. You're going to have education involved. You're going to have mindset strategies involved. And then you've got a big amount of accountability, because once you've got a goal, how are you going to make yourself push through those challenging moments to get there? Because any goal worth having is going to be hard. It's going to be and so you've also got to have accountability mechanisms in there to make sure that you're committed and you stay on course, because finishing the job is a must when you start at Ultimate You.
In 2019, you published a book titled The Ultimate You, Change Your Mind, Transform Your Life. Can you elaborate on what the experience of writing a book was like for you?
Mate, it was torture. So writing a book is challenging, and it's a long process. And I was super self-critical on writing my book. So when I rewrote that book so many times, and I had moments of mass frustration because I love speaking, and I feel like I've earned the right to be a good speaker because I do it a lot and I speak to crowds. But sitting down writing the book for long periods of time was really challenging for me, but it was something that I had to do, and I felt like it had to come out of me at that time. And then once you write the book, you know, to write a book's one thing, but then to actually get it to a real publisher is
absolutely
difficult. Yeah. So from that point, I went to work and used my marketing brain to put together the whole package. So I designed up marketing collateral and the front logo, which is completely different to what actually was released. But I put it all together so I could then pitch it to publishers in order to get a yes. And so after I had all that together, I went and I started pitching publishers, and I got rejected by literally hundreds. And why that was that I didn't realize that you couldn't go directly to publishers. So when you're trying to publish a book, publishers won't deal with you directly. You need to get a literary agent. And so only one responded to me kindly and said, like, hey, buddy, you're never going to get a response this way. You need to get an agent, and then we'll talk to agents. So then I thought, okay, cool. I'm going to blast as many agents as I can find on the internet and get someone. So I did, and I blasted agent after agent across America and Australia. And I think I got about, 5 to 10 responses, something like that. And one of them was this agent in New York, and, lovely lady responded to me, loved the concept, said, look, I think you're onto a winner here. Would you take me as your agent, and I will pitch it for you? And I said, beautiful. So she went forward. She started pitching it to publishers, and then I ended up getting a publishing deal with the Version Books in New York, and that's how I got the deal.
Now I see you've got a podcast named the Andy Anderson Podcast. What's your podcast about, and what happens in the podcast?
Yeah. So I've got two podcasts. I've got the Ultimate You one, which is health and fitness based, and that's obviously with my business. And then I've got another one, which is called the Relentless,
Yeah.
Relentless Leadership Podcast by me, and that's about, and it's a more of a lifestyle podcast. So anywhere from business to athletics to mindset, just things that I enjoy, people that I love, and I love just reaching out to people that have achieved greatness and learning from them, having conversations like this with great people, getting into people's heads and figuring out why they think a certain way or why they act a certain way, or how did they do this? How did they do that? I mean, I'm a very curious person, and I love discovering that in these podcasts.
Now you've got an up and coming TV show. What's the show called, and how did you become involved in the show with the likes of Rob Whittaker and also Dipper?
Yeah. So, mate, the show came about because I was at work and we're growing our business. And I said to my team one day, how are we going to take everything to another level, marketing-wise and promotion-wise? And what's something we can do that's going to be really hard to compete with? Because we're in a saturated industry, and I wanted to do something that would be really hard for other fitness brands to compete with. And I thought, if we had our own TV show, that would be hard to compete with. But big risk, big reward. And so I went to work and I wrote up a concept for a reality TV show called The Ultimate You. And I thought, it'd be so cool doing a show based on our challenge and the stuff that happens with clients, etc. So I wrote up this script. I actually went and got a professional script writer to help me frame it in the right way, similar to like I do with the book. Yeah. And then I reached out to some celebrity friends of mine and tried to get them to introduce me to Channel 7 and a few other people. Wow. And so I got a few little intros to Channel 9 and things like that. And I got shut down, and that was fine. And then that sort of went to bed for a little while. And then I met up with another celebrity friend of mine about maybe 6 to 7 months later. And I said to him, mate, I've got this idea. Will you please help me get this to a network? And he said, and then I explained it to him. He goes, I love the idea, Andy. This is awesome. And so he ended up taking me to an AFL lunch. And so I went to this lunch, and he sat me next to a TV producer who owns a production company. And he said, Andy, this is blah. I want you guys to chat. So I spent the lunch talking your ear off, selling myself. He said, Andy, I love the idea. Come down and meet me and the team and show us the idea properly. And so I said, wicked. So a week later, went down and I met him. I was lucky enough to pitch the idea to him. He loved it. He said, Andy, I think this is another winner. I'm going to take it to the network. I'll call you in 2 weeks. And so he took my pitch deck and he took my script and everything. And then he started selling it to networks, pitching it to networks. Channel 7 loved the idea. And then he called me up and then he said, Andy, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. And I said, oh, great. I said, what's the bad news? And he said, there's no bad news. You've got your very first TV deal. And I said, wow. Woo. And I lost it. I was so excited, and it was a dream come true. And when it finally gets on air, it's going to be a dream come true, because we were meant to have this done in 2020. COVID hit, push everything back, and so we're finally booked in for filming, mate. And it's going to be in the next few months. So I look forward to finally getting this off the ground. So when are you hoping that it'll be on air? Mate, I reckon we're going to be filming in the next few months, and I think it's going to be on air early next year, so January, February. It's down to filming it. Hard work. We've got some amazing brands on board, sponsoring us. We've got all-star cast, some huge fitness influencers like Zach Smith, the legend, and Steph Packer. We've got Robert Whittaker. We've got the big man Dipper. And then we've got some incredible brands backing us, as well as other celebrities. So it's going to be a ride. So how did you get Rob Whittaker on board? Mate, I reached out to Rob Whittaker, and I reached out to his management and started the conversation, started negotiations with him. And then, finally they said yes to me. And, and we got it moving. If you weren't doing fitness right now, what would you be doing? Oh, good question. If I wasn't doing fitness right now, look, I'd just be in another business that I love. I mean, I've got a few different passions. But business and entrepreneurship as a general theme is a huge passion of mine. And so it would be doing something, helping people for sure. It would be something that I could do where I could contribute at a large level and have an impact.
Yep.
But what specifically, I'm not too sure. Health and fitness is a true love of mine. And yeah, I don't know, but I'll think about that one. It's a good question.
What would be, oh no, sorry. If you could go out for dinner with anyone, who would it be?
Oh, good question. Dead or alive or alive?
Either.
Either. All right. If I could go out for dinner with anyone, it would have to be Steve Jobs, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, just because, huge inspiration. What he achieved is incredible. I love his story. And I actually flew over to Silicon Valley, where he's from.
Wow.
I've listened to his audio book, over and over again because I love hearing the story. And I went to his house, right? And so I went to his house where he grew up, and I sat on his lawn and I listened to his audio book for hours, just sitting there, touching the grass, looking at the shed where he came up with this concept, which is Apple. And he turned that from a business from zero to $1 trillion business, impacting and influencing people globally. So huge achievement. And I think it'd be inspiring to meet him in person.
What would be your advice to anyone trying to better their body and better their mind?
Look, anyone who is trying to better their body and better their mind, first thing is take action. Stop procrastinating, because so many people, wish and hope and wanna, but they don't do. And it's the first, few weeks and months that are the hardest. So mentally and emotionally prep yourself to push yourself through those challenging moments when you start, and just realize that after a period of time, your body adapts, your mind adapts, and it becomes second nature, just like brushing your teeth or putting your clothes on. Once upon a time, you didn't know how to do that, right?
Yeah.
You have to learn it and repeat it. And then now all of a sudden we wake up and we get dressed by ourselves and we brush our teeth and we know how to walk. And these things are a learned behavior, and so is health and fitness.
Thanks, Andy, for coming on the podcast today and putting aside half an hour or so of your time to come on and have a chat.
Pleasure, mate. You're doing an amazing job. Look at you. You're a young gun. You got a big future ahead of you. It's inspiring seeing people like you of your age kicking goals.
Thanks, Andy. Stay tuned, everyone, for some more Sporting Max.